the back on the spanker and this one on the mizzen sail. Those are the strike zones. Clearly by the name, you don't want to be in the zone where you could get struck, all right? So if you are walking through these areas, you're going to want to take a look, assess the situation, and then say, okay, I can walk through, right? But most of the time, you want to avoid it and enjoy just sitting on the side where you are, because both sides can just walk down the stairs to get to the bar, so you don't really need to cross over. So it's pretty easy, okay? Awesome. Because we have quite a lot of people on this sail, we're actually going to do the architecture part down on the main deck where there is more seating, but that's not going to start until I announce that it's going to start, so you guys can actually enjoy that view as we start to head out on the lake.
Just remind everybody to stay seated during service.
Oh, and as we're raising the sail, unless you're raising the sails, stay seated, because the booms will be swinging, so.
We're not supposed to do it. Yes.
Okay, you're all too fast. Too fast.
Just letting you guys know.
I love the fact you looked at your wrist and you're not in line. Do you think
He what?
we know the
Where?
In the area. The next person that showed up was Luis Joliet, and Joliet was trying to get to the Gulf of Mexico and going down to the Mississippi, made it about halfway and then decided to come back up. And he did not set up settlement in the area, but he looked at the area and mapped Chicago in the area, which actually looked a lot more like that. It was a swampland. It looked a lot more like Shrek's house than it did modern-day Gotham City, okay? So it wasn't until Jean-Baptiste Pont du Sable, my award winner for best French name, arrived, and he was the first resident of the city of Chicago in 1780s when he constructed his house. In 1803, Fort Dearborn existed, and the population of the city of Chicago was 300 people, all right? From there, they began to grow. Now, they grew like most great civilizations and great cities. They grew from the river. Now, the river is the first main point and main attraction to the city because we're on a freshwater lake. So to set up the establishment of a city, they had fresh water and they had a freshwater river. The river flowed into the lake. Now, the early residents of the city of Chicago, there was lots of beautiful buildings that were constructed along the riverfront, which have all since burned down and been replaced by even more grand edifices that you see. Now, in 1880s, from 1887 until 1922, when it was officially completed, we undertook one of the greatest engineering feats of the early part of the 20th century. We changed the direction of flow of the Chicago River, all right? In the 1800s, they were using the river as their garbage can, as their toilet, as whatever they wanted off the land, they would just throw it into the river. Well, the river would bleed into the lake, and the lake was the source of their drinking water. So, they decided to reverse the flow of the river. We trained an entire generation of engineers. They learned a lot in this project, moving 3 times the amount of earth that they did when they constructed the Panama Canal. And a lot of the engineers that worked on the Chicago project went down and worked on the Panama Canal, all right? So we changed the direction of the river. All that garbage no longer flows into the lake. Instead, what we did is we took all that dirty water, we send it down to St. Louis where they bottle it up as Budweiser and they sell it right back to us. It's a great deal of good change for everybody. Chicago plan, because after the rich people on the lake incident, the people in Chicago had an idea. And that idea was to let the lakeshore area of the city remain forever free and clear, to be enjoyed by the public and not to be only enjoyed by the wealthy elite. All right. And to this day, Chicago has succeeded in doing that. It is one of the best cities in the world to allow public access to the lakefront. All right, it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, as we continue into Grant Park, the first noticeable feature is that fountain. All right, I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of blocked off by the ship right now, but if everybody looks over yonder, you will see Buckingham Fountain right there. Now, Buckingham Fountain was a gift to the city from philanthropist Kate Buckingham. Now, she didn't actually like to name works after herself, so the Buckingham Fountain she named after her brother, Clarence Buckingham. Found a little loophole. This is Chicago. We go loophole here, all right? You can't see the Hancock right now. Are 8 feet apart in height. Now, the Aeon Center was originally covered and faced using the same marble that Michelangelo crafted the statue David out of the face of the building. Well, the problem is, if anybody knows the construction of marble and the makeup of the rock, it has tiny little air pockets in it. Well, we have this freezing cold lake, and we are the Windy City. So what was happening was in the winter, the building was getting blasted with the cold air, and those air pockets were actually freezing, cracking, and then water could get in. And then that water would freeze, crack, and then explode.